You are 19 years old when Forbes calls. Not your publicist, not your assistant, you. They want to confirm a number before the list goes live. You're sitting in a rented apartment in Austin, eating cereal from a plastic bowl, and the voice on the phone is asking you to verify your equity stake to the decimal point. You do. And then you hang up and sit there for a while, staring at the wall, because you don't know what else to do. Within 72 hours, your face is everywhere. Magazine covers, cable news segments, Twitter threads, dissecting your childhood. You didn't write a press release. You didn't prepare a statement. You woke up one morning as a college dropout with a fast-growing company. And by nightfall, you were a symbol, the youngest self-made billionaire in history. You're not sure what that phrase even means anymore. Your origin story gets compressed into a sentence. Started coding at 12, dropped out at 17, sold his first company at 18. It sounds clean. It sounds inevitable. What it leaves out is the 14-hour days, the months you slept on a mattress in your office, the friends who stopped texting because you stopped replying. You didn't start coding because you were a genius. You started because your parents couldn't afford a tutor, your school didn't offer advanced classes, and YouTube was free. You taught yourself Python from a channel with 200 subscribers. You built your first app because you were bored. You sold it because someone offered you money and you didn't know you could say no. At 17, you leave college after one semester. Not because you're too smart for it, because you can't afford the next one and your company is growing faster than you can manage alone. You don't tell your parents until it's already done. Your mother cries, not because she's disappointed, because she's terrified. She doesn't understand what you're building. Neither do you, really. You just know it works. At 18, you raise your first round of funding. $12 million from a venture capital firm that flies you to San Francisco, sits you in a glass conference room, and asks you to explain your 5-year plan. You don't have one. You have a product, a handful of users, and a conviction that borders on delusion. You get the money anyway. They see something in you, or maybe they see something in the numbers. You're never quite sure which. The money changes everything and nothing. You hire people, you move into a real office. You start getting invited to conferences where everyone is 20 years older than you and speaks in a language you don't fully understand. Burn rate, cap tables, liquidation preferences. You learn fast. You have to. By 19, your company is valued at $1.2 billion. You own enough of it to cross the threshold, and suddenly, you're not a founder anymore. You're a symbol. Here's what no one tells you about being the youngest billionaire in the world. You can't complain, ever, about anything. You're 19 with more money than most people will see in 10 lifetimes. Who wants to hear that you're lonely? Who wants to know that you haven't slept more than 5 hours a night in 2 years? Who cares that your college friends treat you differently now? That your family doesn't know how to talk to you? That every relationship you try to build is shadowed by the question of what the other person actually wants? You are the most enviable and least sympathized person in any room you walk into. So you stop talking about it. You smile at the interviews. You give the answers they expect. You learn to perform the version of yourself that makes sense to other people. At 20, you hire your first therapist. Not because you're falling apart, because you realize you don't know who you are when you're not working. She asks you to describe a typical day. You can't. There is no typical day. There's just the next problem, the next meeting, the next decision that could sink the company or double it. She asks you what you do for fun. You don't have an answer. You used to play video games. You used to watch movies. Now you check your phone 300 times a day and feel guilty when you're not being productive. She asks you if you're happy. You say you don't know. You say you think happiness might be a concept designed for people who have time to think about it. She doesn't push. She just nods. And you realize that's the first real conversation you've had in months. At 21, you make your first major mistake. A product launch fails. The press is brutal. Your stock price drops 40% in a week. Investors who praised you as a visionary 6 months ago are now calling for your resignation. You sit in your apartment reading headlines about your own decline, and you think, this is it. This is where it ends. It doesn't. You fix the product. You steady the company. You learn that failure isn't final unless you let it be. But you also learn something else. The same people who built you up will tear you down the moment it suits them. Their praise was never about you. It was about the story you represented, and stories can turn on a dime. At 23, you start thinking about legacy, not because you're old, because you've already outlived one version of yourself. The wonder kind, the dropout who made it. That story is over. Now you have to figure out what comes next. You look at older founders, the ones who built empires and then didn't know what to do with themselves. Some became philanthropists, some became investors, some just became strange, isolated, unable to connect with a world that had moved on without them. You don't want to end up like that, but you're not sure how to avoid it. You start giving money away, not because you're generous, because you don't know what else to do with it. The numbers in your account are abstract. They don't feel real. A donation to a school feels more concrete than a balance sheet. At least something changes in the world. At 25, you meet someone who doesn't care. She's not impressed by the net worth. She's not intimidated by the headlines. She treats you like a person who sometimes makes her laugh and sometimes annoys her. It's the most normal relationship you've ever had. And somehow, that doesn't fix anything either. You still wake up at 4 a.m. with your mind racing. You still check your phone before you check on her. You still feel like you're performing a role you never auditioned for, but you're learning. Slowly. How to be a person again. You are the world's youngest billionaire. You built something from nothing before you were old enough to drink. You've been profiled, analyzed, celebrated, and criticized by people who have never met you. And the strangest part is this: the money didn't change who you are. It just revealed it faster than most people ever get to see themselves. Every flaw, every fear, every weakness magnified, accelerated, impossible to hide. You're 25 years old. You have resources most people can't imagine. And every day, you wake up and face the same question everyone faces. What kind of person do you want to be? The only difference is that the whole world is watching your answer.